Good day, America. Stand by for news.
Jack Harvey.
You know how this call.
Just having fun at EVTV.
I listen to him every day for years and years.
Yes.
This is Electric Vehicle Television. I'm Jack Rickard, and this is my partner, Brian Noto.
Hello out there in EVTV land.
I didn't call him Brain, and I won't call Otmar Otmar anymore.
Getting your pronunciations of first names down.
I won't call my daughter Jacqueline Marie anymore.
She'll like that.
Actually, it's her name. I make up names for things, which works really well when I can't remember them. But the best part about Alzheimer's is you get to meet so many new people every day.
Yes. Every adventure is a new adventure.
Do you have any news from the interblogosphere?
I do. News from...
concerning electric vehicles?
Yes, and I'll be today. I will be Ricky Monkey.
Ricky Monkey?
Yeah, that will be my nom de plume for today. Ricky Monkey.
Ricky Monkey.
Ricky Monkey.
Okay, Ricky Monkey.
Well, they did get the new plug-in battery electric vehicle sales in.
Okay.
For September. I know we don't talk about the numbers too much, but they are down quite a bit from August. So August was good at 11,000 vehicles, and we did 8,000 this month, including the Prius hybrid, the plug-in, and the Ford C-Max and the Energy Fusion.
How many volts? How many leafs?
We got 16,007. Excuse me, for the month, 1,766 volts this month, and 1,953 leafs. What's been kind of interesting is 6 times the lead has changed this year between the volts and the leafs. So this month the leaf did outsell the volt by a couple hundred units, and they're both kind of neck and neck at about 16,000 units, with Chevy's just a little closer, edging them at 16,760.
What's the year-to-date total?
Of cars, 66,689.
Not bad.
Not bad.
That's climbing. We're winning, guys. It's a grueling yard at a time.
It is.
But we're winning. Well, good show.
More cars, more fun.
More cars are more fun.
More fun, that's right. Tesla, we do like to talk about Tesla. They were in the news a couple times. My little point of news for Tesla was that they did compromise with it is weird because they had to compromise with the Virginia legislature, of course the Automobile Association in Virginia, and Tesla, but they can apply now for a license to be able to sell in Virginia as a manufacturer.
Well, excellent.
Yeah.
Their stock has it's got me so goosey. I'm going to quit playing it. I sold it short at 192 bucks.
I know.
It went down. It did. And so I covered at like 187.
Which would be a good move.
Which was a good move.
That's right.
It dropped to 168.
Oh, yes, it did. Oops.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
Just leaving money on the table. What the heck?
Yeah, I'm
not greedy.
Well, that's what I call it. But then it just makes
you pucker.
Stupid. You know, if I'd have just held on a little bit. It wasn't even a day.
Couple hours.
And they burn up a car.
They did burn up a car.
Let's put up this video of this fire guy shot it with his camera.
Okay.
Not his camera, his phone.
His phone.
So battery fires are pretty impressive.
They are. You gotta love it.
Dude. That's a brand new car.
Well, there's
Gotta love it.
60 things going on here at the same time. Normally, I see fires like that caused by
I can
battery
feel the heat in here.
systems.
Yes.
I thought this was the first one that didn't.
Oh, that's a Tesla, dude.
And then I got to ask him what the debris was it hit. It was an lithium BMS. Somebody threw out the window of their other electric car that was in front of it.
It fell off.
The Tesla ran over it and burst into flames.
They did say it was a large metal object.
It was. It was the main unit from the lithium BMS. And then, you know, what am I supposed to say about that? There's a 785 automotive fires per day in the United States.
Yeah, they're burning up.
That are
Really-
sufficiently out of control that a fire department gets involved and fills out a report. That's how we know that they happened.
Mm-hmm.
If your car just catches on fire and you put it out,
Yeah, no biggie.
it doesn't come up. It's when they burn to the ground
Right,
normally.
it's when the red trucks show up.
That's when the red trucks show up, they're out of control. That's when we find out about them. And there's over 785 of them a day. Of course, a battery fire can be pretty interesting. The stock took a dive, but I think it's a lot of people that are also goosey about the stock.
I think so too. Yeah,
It has run so far and so hard that we're moving away from Tesla millionaires to Tesla guilt.
yes.
People are feeling guilty about having made so much money on this stock, and they don't really know exactly where to get out. But then when something like this happens, they
It's a good
tend
spot.
to take their profits and then take a look and maybe jump back in. I mean, this stock has traded 25 million shares in a day. And there's only a 75 million, 77 million shares out there floating.
Yeah, the float. Yeah.
And so some people have
lot
been in and out several times the same day,
That's
you
right.
can tell. So it's kind of twitchy right now. Of course, that I would say that the fire is a momentary glitch, and it was back up to 177 today. But then when a stock gets out too far ahead of itself, if it takes a dip, sometimes same thinking.
Right,
Take
exactly.
my profits
Yep.
and go.
Yeah.
And so they tend to a little panic selling.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
This is technical analysts observe these moving averages and stuff. If it breaks below 160, it's probably headed for 135. It didn't. It kind of bounced. The company continues to be on a roll. They sold 631 cars in Norway in September.
I understand that. Yes.
That was the top selling car
Yes.
of any kind in Norway.
Yes.
In September, we used to have a fellow that came by here quite often. Kind of got to be friends, Arnold Larsgaard,
Yes, he's a Viking.
and he made a fortune and delivered lunches in Norway.
I know, to the office buildings, I think. Yeah. Yep.
And Norway actually has the highest per capita income in the world, beyond Dubai and all of that.
Really?
They have a
Wow.
tremendous amount of North Sea oil. There's not that many people there, maybe 4 million. They don't have that much highway.
No, it wouldn't take a lot.
Kind
That's
of
right.
rugged area.
Yeah.
And so the government has very high tax on gasoline
Yes.
because they want to sell it instead of use it. And then the population is so well off, they can all buy any car they want to in the world. To keep them from buying so many luxury cars, they have a registration fee on a new car that's like $100,000.
Yeah, it's almost like 100% of the value of the purchase price of the
In
car.
some cases, it's more
Yeah,
than
more.
the
Yeah,
value
it's
of the car.
crazy. Yeah, absolutely crazy.
And then they waive that for electric cars.
Gotta love that.
And so that was why Arnulf was anxious to convert cars and take them into. Subsequent to the fire of the Pearl of Scandinavia or whatever,
Yeah,
ferry,
crossing of Sweden, I think. Yeah.
they banned any converted cars. It has to be a homologated OEM electric vehicle. A dealer for Tesla in Iceland sold 7 cars before he had any.
Really.
These people have never seen a Model S, and he's got 7 of them sold and 25 of them coming. Iceland, too, a land of geothermal, but they have been part of several electric vehicle initiatives. The story I'm trying to wind here is, and we don't have the numbers yet. We have anecdotes and hints and glimpses. But the Tesla is a very expensive car. They've done very well here this year.
They have.
And I think will continue to do so. There is a point at which you run out of people that can afford a $107,000 car.
Right.
What happens then? Well, there is a market for automobiles outside of the United States, and the immediate relief is that 2 months ago they went on sale in Europe. If there was a notable response there, that would be a very good indication.
Good sign, yes.
That we're going to see some numbers in their third quarter reporting in November, which is a month away, that would again cause awe and amazement.
Yes, and a stock price maybe go up. Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that it has a very bad day technically and does crater to 134 or 111, as some of the analysts are calling for. It probably won't. But on announcement in November, I think Tesla is going to turn into a rocket.
Okay.
We did not make my $200 prediction. I think we got up to 196.
196, I think, yeah.
But then it fell back. I said by the end of the year, I think
a quarter.
after I think I better revise that upward, maybe 300.
Oh, geez.
If what's going on in Europe is what I think is going on in Europe, this is going to cause some cranial detonations across the land. And General Motors has already gone on the offensive with their press releases that are truly pathetic, vague allusions to a 200-mile car for, I don't know, $45.60 or something.
Yeah.
Sometime in the future when the batteries become available, and mumble, something about the spark, mumble. And now they have a task force to study Tesla.
Okay.
And how they're doing everything. This company's like a government or something. They're just inept. Of course, the U.S. government shut down this week.
That's right, yes.
The interesting thing about that,
Yes.
the Democrats are already partying at the Republicans' discomfort. I don't even get it. I think it's just a media wash. But along the way, we learned that NASA furloughed 97% of their 275,000 people.
Oh, my goodness.
What do we have 275,000 people doing at NASA when all the work's done by subcontractors?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Why aren't we living on the moon?
800,000 people in CIA and intelligence, and they furloughed almost all of them, and the guy said none of them were essential personnel.
No, and we're probably smarter.
And I think he was telling the truth. Right. Why would we have 800,000 people to cover 160 countries? It's the absurdities in there are beyond the pale, and so I would claim as General Motors. But it's interesting to see the existing OEM car makers wake up
They have woken up, yeah.
coming phenomenon, and I'm gonna predict that the European numbers talked about in November are going to absolutely blow you away. What would that look like? How about 5,000 cars sold in the U.S. and another 5 in Europe?
Wow. Okay.
You see, that's where the gasoline's $8 or $9 a gallon.
Yeah.
it's very difficult to get a converted car that you do at home on the road for
True.
the engineering, and Tesla's got most of that worked out. They're having a few glitches there, getting in some places, but every place that they finally are in, they didn't bring enough Teslas.
That's right.
And so it's kind of an amazing thing. I don't know that they can make that many,
True. They might not be able to produce the cars fast
but
enough.
I suspect they can
Yeah.
at this point. And I would if they have a blowout number in Europe, it's game on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Back at the ranch.
back at the ranch, my prediction that General Motors and Nissan and all of them are going to have to, kiss the ring is still pretty much in there. This week, they opened the first CCS at the Fashion Valley Mall in San Diego, California. It's fully operational. The one car, the Chevy Spark, they could plug into it, has been put off till December of this year. And meanwhile, the CHAdeMO group is very quick to note that there are now 306 CHAdeMO fast
They're fast
charge stations
Oh, cool.
in the United States. And so the whole thing continues to evolve. Otmar tells me that Tesla uses the green power, the power line protocol instead of the CAN bus in their charge station. I guess I'm not convinced yet. I just can't believe they don't have CAN in there. But perhaps. I could be wrong about that, but in any event, I believe that it's going to, it's a battle, and I don't think it's viable to sell an electric car in the United States that won't work in a Tesla charge station.
That makes sense, yeah.
That's of any expense.
Yeah.
If they get this network up a little further. I could be wrong. What else you got?
Let's see. What other news do we have? I can't show my iPhone app, but Plug Share, the app that we've showed you before, we find the charging stations. Now you can actually find a charging station, and we'll have to go find one around here and pay for it through your Android or iPhone.
Well, wait a minute. All the Tesla charge stations are free.
They're free.
What do you mean pay for it?
Well, I guess at some point.
You have to buy the charge station to go charge
You
it?
have to go buy some electricity.
Buy some electricity. Shouldn't be too tough at 8 cents a kilowatt
That
hour.
should be pretty cheap. That's right.
This is not going to emerge as a new profit opportunity for young local entrepreneurs, guys. The electricity is just, the mark is made. You're going to have to give away electricity if you want me to come charge at your charge station.
Yeah.
And there's thousands of them out there. There's a little secret undercurrent going on. Nobody's using the public charge stations.
No, they're really not. Yeah.
There's thousands of them across the land, unattended. And nobody cares.
Lonely charging stations.
A few hapless yucks in San Francisco are all fighting over a handful of them there, but in the rest of the country, everyone charges at home in their garage.
Yeah.
They find out very quickly they don't need public charging unless they want to drive between cities.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And at that point, there's some desire and a perfectly appropriate one for your employer to let you charge, and many of them do.
Yeah, you're there long enough. Yeah.
And then you charge at home, and public charging at the Fashion Valley Mall doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's boutique-y, but not practical. Yeah.
It does not. And so That's more charging. Why would I pay for charging? I won't even use the charging that's free unless I'm going between cities.
Right.
And actually, I think fast charging is going to be huge. It's a big component of it. It removes the final barrier. What can't I do with an electric car? Drive coast to coast.
Right, exactly.
Well, as soon as I can, that's
Yeah,
done.
now what? Yeah.
How do you do that? Fast charging. A lot faster than they're doing with CHAdeMO or even CCS. Tesla isn't there yet, but they're pretty much geared up for 125 kilowatts. You need 200 to do fast charge properly. And the batteries will do them now, by the way.
Right.
60 amp hour, 180 amp hour, 400 amp hour, doesn't matter. The new ones, the older ones, they always would. They'll charge at 3C. That means 20 minutes, and 20 minutes is the magic number. 30 minutes don't work. 20 minutes does.
Right. Yep, you can do 20 minutes.
If I had enough power in a cable plugged into the car, I'm good to go. And they don't have enough.
They need a lot of power.
CHAdeMO does not have enough, and CCS is not going to have enough. Tesla, borderline.
Right.
Well, for me, it won't for my Model S.
Right.
For my other cars, it would, if I could get them to charge on the Tesla. Speaking of the fires, there's a lot of Teslas being wrecked.
Really? What are they, driving fast or something in their Teslas?
Apparently, you can drive these cars a bit faster than maybe you've got any experience,
business
ability, or reason to do. And when they hit something, they have these very safe crash zones made out of thin aluminum
Right.
that just get wrecked all the hell. And leaving, in most cases, the battery and the whole drivetrain in the back untouched.
That's right.
The chargers, the battery,
frontal collisions.
But the car is totaled. I saw one. The high bid was, I think it's going today. It was $6,650, $6,000. This car was a mess.
Oh,
had
man.
clear plastic where the doors had been. But I think most of the things we're interested in were intact.
We're probably good. Everything under the car and behind it.
And so, salvage of Tesla Model S's could be a very interesting game.
And the replacement of them with more Tesla Model S's.
Well, I'm, there are several people out there, like say, Oakmar wants to put his
Oh, yeah, that's right.
the stretch
Yes, that's yes. The stretch,
zipper van.
The zipper van, yes.
on the road with a Model S battery and charging system,
You might be able to get it.
drive to EVCon. Makes perfect sense.
Why not?
I think I'm on the lookout for one. I asked Brad Roby to send her dealer license and
Oh, okay. All the paperwork?
to the auction house
Yeah, there you go.
so I could bid on
So
this
we-
Tesla, but he didn't get it
Okay.
done. But I mean, some of these auction things are for insurance disposal, and you're supposed to be a salvage dealer or something, and we are all that through a car wash
Yeah, right.
associated company. But I'll have to get that going. Bid on a Tesla.
Get
And
for
take it apart and see what's
Yeah, see
inside.
what's in there.
I'd love to have a wrecked Tesla.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Plenty of wrecked Leafs out there. I think there's going to be a thing on this. Of course, you can buy a perfectly good Coda
Yes.
without the batteries now, relatively inexpensively. And but yeah, I want to get hold of a badly wrecked Model S and see what parts I can dig out of there, and
Take it all apart.
we'll set them up on a bench, and I'll just idly, randomly enter numbers and so forth
See what happens.
until it wakes up and does something. Just type in a few as I walk by.
See if it wakes up.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's no information. They're very proprietary about it.
Sure.
Of course, General Motors is out there. They have a task force just like me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Task
Looking
force.
to do the industrial espionage thing. So that's what's going on there.
Except they'll have their badges on. They'll know that they're not supposed to be at Tesla. They'll still be wearing their GM badge.
I haven't been on the T's in some time. You know, I wrote the definitive rules of Wolf.
Yes.
A document. Maybe I'll put that up when I post the blog. It's a little document on how to play the game of Wolf.
Sure.
Wolf ruined me for golf. After I got used to playing Wolf, I didn't want to just play golf anymore. I had to have a Wolf game or I wasn't interested in going. However, we're playing with small batteries right now, 50, 60 amp hour prismatics that have relatively huge power outputs. And therein lies the tale. One of the things I'm going to do, at the request of a brother, is develop a battery module for golf carts.
Yes.
Well, let's take a look and see how that's coming. So, Brian, golf cart update.
All right.
Our battery module came in at 101 pounds. It's about 86 pounds of cells, about 15 of, you know, the aluminum box, some plastic or straps. I put a little meter and a button. We got some kind of copper terminal things on it and so forth. About 14 pounds of trash.
Oh, just
so 101
making a box.
pounds.
Yeah.
So we went from 413 pounds of batteries to a module that sits under the passenger seat of 101, and we can carry 2. But
yeah, that's right. That's cool.
Richard Mario Andretti Flingy out doing the test drive now to see what kind of energy use we burn.
Mario Andretti Flinchy, huh?
So what are the requirements for Formula E?
Well, I think you have to have a Renault chassis and a particular motor. This year it's a little tough. You know, they won't.
I think we can take them with a golf cart.
You think we can get them with a golf cart?
Yeah. If you could get us in.
We might be able to do
if we can pass the technical inspection.
Might have to put a roll bar.
Maybe we could be the pace car.
There you go. There you go. Pace car for Formula E.
You know, I have greenprix.me registered.
Yes, for a while now you've had that.
We could have our own golf cart Green Prix right here in Cape Girardeau.
We could
have straw bales on some of the corners and stuff, and have them wheeling around in golf carts. You know,
going around donkeys or something.
Yeah, right. The running of the bulls at the same time.
That's right. Yeah, we
don't really have any bulls. There's 3 old bulls outside of town, but they're not.
Yeah, that's the 3 old bulls.
You heard what the young bull said to the old bull?
No.
He says, "Hey, there's a bunch of cows down the hill there. Let's run down and get us one." The old bull says, "Hey, let's walk down and we'll get them all."
Oh, jeez, that's right. We'll get them all.
But if we did have bulls, we could have the running of the bulls with the golf cart greenprix.me.
Golf cart, electric golf cart polo.
Yeah, that would be cool too.
Yeah, there you go. Electric golf cart polo. We could do that. We could do that. So is Rich out right now? I did see a green shirt and a red golf cart. Is that our Rich?
Yeah, he's in the golf cart with a helmet and his sunglasses on, and he has a little iPhone app that he doesn't really know how to work that will tell us how far the golf cart went, and we have a JLD 404 measuring the amp hours.
Okay.
I want to see how far this cart would go, at least on, and speaking of the devil, wear your helmet! Dangerous.
Hey, there's always time for safety.
That's right.
You know?
This is a test drive. He should have his helmet on.
It's all, no seat belts, you know. Who knows what can happen?
No
lights.
It's not really a legal neighborhood electric vehicle.
No phones, no lights,
just
no motor car.
Cart.
It's just a golf cart. And we did have to kind of wave the cops off one time. They came down the street. Said Shane out there to hold them up.
Hold the golf
hold the golf cart up just in case. It's all about timing.
By the local Gestapo.
It's all about timing.
They shouldn't even be out. Isn't the government shut down? I guess not the local guys, huh?
Well, at some point.
Why didn't the state and the local take the week off too?
Well, they will when they run out of the federal money.
I think we ought to do this every year. Just call it a Republican Hollow Week.
That's right.
And everybody in all the governments just not go to work.
Just take a week. That's right.
Take a week.
Take a week.
Unpaid.
Government take a week. It's like a tax holiday for the rest of us,
Yeah,
right?
it'd be like a tax holiday for the rest of us. And so
I like that idea, tax holiday for the rest of
here
us.
he comes, our test driver now, Richard Flingy,
Oh my goodness.
Mario Andretti in the 2014 Club Car Precedent. Whoa, there we
Rich
go.
Maximus.
Straight on.
What do you think?
Exactly on 3. It's running better.
You're on 3 miles
Exactly. Just
at
turned it.
3.855 amp hours
Wow, that's
and
cool.
3
Probably
miles.
3.
Now, which way do I divide that again? The bigger,
The bigger, yes.
3.855, and you're at exactly 3 miles. 1.285 amp hours per mile.
Wow.
That's really very similar to what we get on the cars.
Yeah,
But of course, this is a little 17-cell module,
right.
and it's only 56 volts. In fact, right now, it's down to 55.9. We have hardly used any
Yeah, we
of
haven't
this.
used barely any.
And so 1.285, if we had 60 divided by 1.285, that is 46.69 miles. And times 0.8, if we do our usual thing, is a 37-mile range on one module.
On one module.
But that's on asphalt.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're doing a little dirt driving, weren't you? A little bit up the,
little bit,
yeah, a little
little
mix,
bit.
but grass, yeah. Little hills. Shane was saying, golf course hills, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be less.
Yeah, but it's still, that's awfully impressive, though.
It is 37 miles, and we can have 2 of these modules.
Yes, wow.
And so we could easily be at 70 miles, and that's a round of golf is what, 10,000 yards tops?
Yeah, about 10,000 yards with going from the cart path out
30,000
and
feet.
stuff.
That's 6
Yeah.
miles for an
Yeah.
18-hole round.
Yeah,
Right now we can do 6 rounds of golf.
isn't that amazing?
6 18-hole rounds for one of these modules.
And a great place to store beer under the seat.
right,
You know, you
right,
can
right.
put
Yeah, and enough room for a cooler. under the
enough
seat.
room for a cooler under the seat.
But I think with 2 of these modules, you'd have a golf cart that can go
Man.
certainly 50 miles on turf for 75 on the ground. And I don't know that most golfers need that, but a lot of these guys are doing these buggies.
Yeah, like hunting buggies and
Hunting
stuff
buggies,
like that. Yeah.
and for in their they'll combine golf in their neighborhood. Some of them are doing 35 mile an hour too, and that
yeah.
eats up.
That's going to
their,
eat up, some range.
their
yeah.
regular batteries.
Yeah.
It'll eat up some of ours, but we'll have more to eat up.
Sure. Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, I think we're going to have to price this at about $2,800, but which is heroically a lot more than the lead. But it's the same thing with the electric cars. They would have extreme range, much less weight, no maintenance, and a much longer life, just like we do with the electric vehicles.
Just like on our vehicles, yeah.
And so we'll pursue the module. Our charger didn't work, and
That's
I'm
what you're
going to
saying.
explain why later. But it's kind of interesting. But we're going to have to provide a charger with it.
Okay. All right.
Not so much to keep them from overcharging the batteries, but unfortunately it's to get them to charge at all.
Get them to charge it all. Okay.
They have a special case with these lead acid chargers. More on that in a bit. Stay with us.
All right.
Let's talk a little bit about our charge problem with the lithium module for the Club Car Precedent. This is one of the Club Car batteries. It's 8 volts, 4 cells, 69 pounds. A wet lead acid battery. And therein lies a tale. New this year, for the first time, Club Car has the new Club Car charger. It's called the ERIC charge system, and it's by Club Car. Actually not. It's actually a Delta Q IC650 charger. And Delta Q makes much on their website about this little port here, a USB port, where they have done a very cunning thing and made it where you can select from 25 different charge algorithms, including one for lithium batteries, with this charger, and you don't even need a laptop. They can just send it to you on a thumb drive, and you plug it in, and the charger automatically copies it over and uses that one. What an idea. Delta Q has been the ass clown of battery chargers since I've been playing with EVs, and a lot of story to tell there. Actually, back 3 or 4 years ago on the Everdull discussion list, EVDL, their head of engineering was on there whining and bleating piteously about the Chinese who had ripped off his charger design and cost thousands of American jobs. And I pointed out to him that if they had ripped off his charger design, and in fact they had copied his yellow and black motif, that they had done a very strange job of it, as they would do 144 volts and 3 kilowatts. And at the time, his maximum voltage was 96 volts and about half that power. Further, that if they had ripped him off, they should have done a better job of ripping off his documentation, because the documentation for the TCCH charger was in really bad Chinglish, and if that's what he was using for documentation, they should invest in the services of a technical writer. And finally, on the loss of the many thousands of American jobs, this is a Canadian company, A, and B, they were having their chargers manufactured in China, which is how the Chinese got the design. They've been famous for making very flexible chargers that they won't let anybody use the flexible part because they're terrified of lawsuits. And we've been round and round with them on various things for years. We did go to the courtesy of giving them a call on this one, and true to form, they don't support the lithium at all. That's just something on the website, sales propaganda. And in fact, they don't like you changing the algorithms at all without a certified technician. So I called several of their dealers who had technicians, and they're terrified to do anything. They said Delta Q's just constantly threatening them with losing their distributorship if they do hardly anything to the chargers. And so this is actually a very industrial look, a very small form. Now it's only a 650 watt charger, but it's won't work at all with our batteries because of the algorithm that's in it. And let's talk about that for just a minute. I don't know if this is particularly useful for you, since I hope none of you are using lead-acid batteries. This is 4 cells, open circuit voltage on a lead-acid cell, and by that I mean a battery that has a lead plates for the cathode and lead oxide plates for the anode in a sulfuric acid electrolyte. The open circuit voltage is 2.12 volts, and you would normally charge them using about 2.25 volts and use the standard constant current, constant voltage curve. And by that I mean charge to using a constant current source to 2.25 volts, then hold that at 2.25 volts until the current diminishes to some low value, and then terminate. The lead-acid chemistry has an internal shuttle mechanism that can move ions around without anything connected to the terminals, unlike the lithium batteries. This gives them an internal self-discharge. Our lithium cells normally list that because everybody wants to see it, and the Chinese can be very accommodating. There is no shuttle mechanism in the lithium cells. Internal self-discharge doesn't even really make sense in the context of lithium batteries. There is no supporting theory for how they would do this internal self-discharge unless you had plates shorted. And so it's two different worlds, but that's where some of this thinking comes from. As a result, just sitting, this battery will decrease in energy about 4% a week. And so in just a couple of months, it would be completely flat, which is very bad for lithium batteries. This is why you tend to float them, put them on chargers that come on every day and charge them for a few minutes. Because of this internal discharge, these batteries drift, and they drift at different rates. And so just sitting, they will become unbalanced, where each of the 6 cells in the cart, will be at a different state of charge. When you charge them the next time, they will not be equal, and this process will continue until you actually lose the cell from over-discharge or from overcharging it. To combat this, they overcharge them kind of dramatically, optimally to about 2.4 volts per cell. At 2.38 or 2.4 volts, depending on temperature and age of the cell begins to hydrolyze and give off oxygen and hydrogen. Now, an interesting thing happens when that occurs. It's kind of like boiling water. The water never gets above 212 because the additional energy is given off as steam, which can get to be quite hot, but the water doesn't go above 212. Similarly, the batteries don't go past 2.4 volts. The excess energy is given off as hydrolysis, and that separates the water into hydrogen and oxygen, and the energy to do that is what the excess energy is used for. So if you had 6 of these batteries with 4 cells in each of them, each individual cell will arrive at 2.4 volts at different times. And as they do, each one will begin to hydrolyze. And if you bring them all to hydrolysis, the batteries, like the water at 212, will all be at 2.4 volts. The voltage does not go up past that, 2.4, 2.5. And so you will have equalized the batteries, and they'll all be at the same state of charge. And if you do this every few charges, you can maintain your battery pack. This is where the whole concept of balance, of equalization, and of top balancing for lithium cells derives, is from this lead-acid thinking. But they have gotten to where there's a very competitive market for the chargers and a very competitive market for making these batteries last longer, because they typically only last 2 to 3 years. If you can figure out some way to charge them where they last longer, your charger will have a competitive advantage. One of the ways they do this is that normally, in the old days, to hydrolyze them, they'd simply set a maximum voltage of like 2.5 volts times the number of cells, and bring them to that, and then just hold it for a fixed time period, an hour or 2 hours. And they would give off a tremendous amount of gas. The hydrogen's flammable. And of course that boils away some of the electrolyte and causes a lot of wear on the batteries themselves. So they came up with a different way of detecting hydrolysis. And that is to compare the change in voltage, dV, delta V, to the change in time, delta T. And that's why they call it a delta V, delta T curve. And what that is as the batteries come up in voltage, as each cell reaches the 2.4 and stops going up in voltage, the rate of the climb of the voltage decreases quite dramatically. And at the point where it's at some low value, we're pretty much assured that they're all at hydrolysis, or certainly the majority of them. And cut off there, this prevents overgassing and grossly overcharging the cells and extends their life quite a bit. Additionally, that point at which they hydrolyze is quite variable based on the age of the cell, concentration of electrolyte, and most of all, temperature. And so by using this technique, it might be 2.32 volts today and 2.45 volts tomorrow. They don't care. They're looking at the change of voltage compared to the change of time. You can simply, with today's modern microprocessors, measure the voltage 10 times a second and divide by 10 and come up with a rate of change in voltage. When it reaches some threshold value, you're done. Now, I had a discussion with Otmar Ebenhake, and we developed some concern that these top out, and lithium batteries don't. As you get toward the end of charge, it accelerates the rate of change in voltage. Fortunately, my theory was that it's not going to matter because they'll have some top voltage, like 2.5 volts times the number of cells in the lead acid batteries, which we experimentally determined to be 61 volts, where it simply ceases anyway. And so it's going to look for that DVDT, but if it reaches some cap voltage, it'll stop anyway. And so we added a cell so that we would be quite safe at 17 cells, charging to 61 volts. We plugged in the charger and mounted our battery module, and it charged about 9 amp hours and quit. And I unplugged it and plugged it back in and got another 9 amp hours. And in fact, I was able to fully charge the battery 8 or 9 amp hours at a time. And you would plug it in, it would charge at 9 amps for a while, the current would go down and it would terminate. What was happening? Lithium-ion batteries, when they're at a very low state of charge, increase in voltage quite rapidly. Once they get up to about 3.05, 3.1 volts per cell, we flatten out the curve. And our normal charging, the voltage for 90% of the charge changes extremely little. From 3.1 to 3.3 volts is 95% of our charge curve. And so the charger is detecting that as a fully hydrolyzed battery at a 3 volt times 17 cells would be 51 volts, which is a little low for a lead acid cell, but that's the purpose of having that algorithm, is in cold weather or with the older cells being able to detect full hydrolysis at lower levels than normal. And so it was dutifully shutting down. And so all we have to do is plug it in 6 or 8 times to get it fully charged. This is not an operating scenario that we can live with. And so this charger is kind of disqualified. I did go through the motions of explaining this to Delta Q and some of their distributors. And Delta Q was atrociously arrogant and abnormally ignorant of anything about lithium batteries that I've ever heard. They said you have to have a temperature monitor to charge it and a battery management system, and they just are going to avoid the whole thing. And they want nothing to do with this. Well, okay, you want nothing to do with this. It's my cart, my charger, and my batteries. Can I get the algorithm? Oh, no, we wouldn't possibly provide you with that. So I think this company is despicable. I would not have even bought this golf cart had I known it was a Delta Q charger. They've been asswipes from the beginning. And EasyGo had a terrible time with a Delta Q charger when they went to that, and they've gone back off of it. I've ordered the older P3 charger. We're going to try that with our battery module, but I think we're going to find we're going to have to provide lithium charger preset to the voltage. That'll let us go back to 16 cells. It'll be a little lighter, a little smaller, but that's the reason for the issue, and all I need is a different charge algorithm for their charger, and this would work fine. But unfortunately, it's their proprietary thing, and they believe they own it after you've bought it. And so there's nothing I can do with them. We've tried to work with JEVQ in the past. Absolutely the most moronically proprietary and silly company I've ever had the pleasure of talking to. So I'm not going to spend much time with it. We'll either take one of the TCCH chargers that rip them off in their mind, or maybe one of the older Lester chargers. We'll have a way we can work around it. Stay with us. So I actually got skunked on the charger.
Yeah, I know. The charger just didn't work
I'm not
out.
too sure. I know of a charger that I can get fairly inexpensively, work quite well. That's small enough, maybe I can get it in the module. Oh. Where you just have a Eric Chris.
Just have the charge port there? Yeah.
Charge port, take any extension cord and just plug it into the wall. It'll look like it doesn't have a charger. And that would be even better than being able to work with your existing chargers, not needing one at all.
Not needing one at all.
How about a battery you just plug into the wall?
Unheard of. Who would speak that?
And we'll tell them to go plug your other batteries into the wall too. See what happens.
That's right. See what happens.
But no, it's an interesting thing, and the relative costs it's all very similar. But did you notice the range that we were talking about? Richard, how much do you weigh?
210.
210. We're at 443 on the cart. Mm-hmm. We had a 101 435 on the cart. We had 101, and we're at 536. 210 is a 736, 746.
Yes.
And in some of the later runs that he did up some hills and so forth, we wound up using 1.3 amp hours or 72 watt hours per mile.
Wow.
If you'll recall, my rule of thumb for how far you can go is the weight of the vehicle at 10 pounds per watt hour. That's how many watt hours it'll take you. Now, this is really a rough rule of thumb. It encompasses a month of driving. I can take any drive and not do that. But if you just drive the car as we do in various regimes and stuff, over the course of a month, it will work out to about 10 to 1. Our first test drive, Richard nailed 10 to 1. Now, if you have two guys in the cart and two sets of clubs, you're probably up around 1,000 pounds, and so 100 watt hours. That's essentially a 3,000 watt hour pack. That's a 30-mile range any way you cut it.
Right, no matter what, yeah.
On a 15 by 12-inch battery that weighs 100 pounds, instead of 69-pound lead acid cells that you have to put water in.
Yeah, you have to water them like plants.
And, yeah, like plants. It's like having a drip irrigation system like on your electric vehicle.
Yeah, having 6 kids under the seat.
Right. It's like you're growing pot under the seat of your golf cart.
And get no benefit.
You got some UV lights and a drip irrigation system taking care of your batteries.
Zero benefit.
But the batteries are so inexpensive.
Yeah.
That I'm afraid my module will be the perfect thing to run a golf cart. And no one in the world in their right mind would ever pay that to do that.
What are you thinking, man?
But it'll drive it, a Brazilian mile.
Yeah, that's right. Further than
I was going to put 2 modules and turn it loose at a local golf course. We're going to send this thing out with the module that's in it. I think there's 8 rounds of golf in that box. And so it is. And that brings up kind of the whole thing that I'm playing with here is these smaller cells. I've been sent into a tizzy over the NMC cell, the nickel manganese cobalt oxide 3.8 pound cell I got by accident.
Right, the accidental cell.
And I'm supposed to get the ones I actually ordered and those in a couple of weeks now. And but let's take a look, and I think we have finally worked out a way to actually measure current out of these in a more controlled fashion than a spanner or a tube of salt water that turns pea yellow.
Yes, it's beautiful.
And so let's take a look and see what these little puppies can actually do. When last we spoke on the topic, I was kind of unable to make current in any controlled fashion at the levels that we can produce them now with these small batteries. Why the small batteries, Jack? Well, there's a couple of things beyond golf and making golf cart batteries. As we move into AC systems, we tend to be at higher voltages, and it takes a lot of cells. 100 to 180 amp hour cells would be about 60 kilowatts, quite expensive, and they would take up an extreme amount of room, and they would weigh a lot, about 1,250 pounds. So as we get into higher voltages, we tend to go to smaller cells. That actually makes less expensive packs, but less margin for error. And we've had a little bit of a limitation with our Chinese prismatics. This is where the A123 pouch cell and a couple of others, the Dow Co-Cams, have been making hay, as with their pouch cells, they've had very high power densities, 20, 30 C power output. Interestingly, just at the time we're doing that, the Chinese prismatics are getting better. And as you know, I've been a fan of the CALB series cells. Now, actually, for power, the biggest I've ever tested was the 40 amp hour cell. They should be analogous from the 40 to the 60 to the 100, but there's going to be slight differences. The thickness of the cathode and anode material, they don't have that good a control over it. It's you can only do that a certain number of ways, and so they may not be exactly the same. But my electronic loads, I have a limited amount of power I can put through them. Damien McGuire has inspired us all with his displays in Ireland of spanners and 2,000 amps. And last we addressed this topic, I did 2,600 amps out of one of our new NMC batteries, destroying it. Well, 2,600 amps is 52C. They're claiming 15C continuous, 20C for 10 seconds. A very attractive amount. And why is that? Well, as we go to the higher voltages, it's true that our current falls, but we do still want to be able to make 300 or 400 amps pretty consistently. In the past, a 40 amp hour cell or a 60 amp hour cell would have been rated for 3C continuous, 5C, and that would be 300 amps at the extreme edge. Additionally, when you take them to that extreme edge, it tends to shorten the lifetime of them. So we need to go to those smaller cells. We need them to be able to make more power. This is not energy density, it's power, the ability to make current and maintain their voltage. And I was very happy with the performance of the CALB 40s, which we tested at 12C or 480 amps using our electronic loads. Now we're getting into 50 and 60 amp hour cells, and I'd like to see if they can do their claims of 10C, and then now we're talking 15C and 20C. Well, 20C on a 50 amp hour cell even is 1,000 amps. And I don't have a way to do 1,000 amps in a controlled fashion with our electronic loads. So we tried to make a saline rheostat simply because of the historical interest. That didn't work out too well. We didn't get much current out of it. Don Zacher, one of our viewers, said, well, Jack, why don't you simply lay down a rebar in your driveway like me? And he sent me a little video of how to do that. And he got 180 amperes or something out of a single cell. I don't have a good reason why that won't work, Don. So we went to the hardware store and got us a 1/2-inch rebar and some grounding connectors. And we've used the grounding connectors to clamp onto the rebar and to clamp our cables to the clamp with the screw. And that gives us a pretty good connection to the rebar. I've just got it hung on a loop from the ceiling and a little piece of ultra high molecular weight to hold them together, and it's where it's not flopping around my face. And we're going to, through experimentation, I've found that we really need about 3 cells or 10 volts to get there. I'll get about 10 volts, about 600 or 800 amps here out of the CALB 60s, and I'll show you how to calculate what that is. But we're going to try this using the CALB 60s and see what our voltage sag happens for a period of I guess we'll do 15 seconds just to run it through its paces. And then we're going to do that several times and then wire up our new NMC cells and see how they compare. Right now, I've got the voltage. I've got 3 cells strapped together through a contactor. I have a switch over here that'll close the contactor. 1200 amp shunt, which displays current right here on our JLD 404. Got a little voltmeter set on the 100 volt scale, and it's showing me 10.22 volts right now. And I've got my clock here on the wall that'll give us our time. And so we'll run this for 15 seconds and see what our voltage winds up being. And do that a couple of times. So, Maestro, let's turn on our clock. And I'm going to press the button. I have 966. And at 15 seconds, I've got 787 and 845. From that, I would say that this 60 amp hour cell can maintain 845 amps and 7.87 volts for 15 seconds. From 10.22 to 7.87, I am maintaining 77% of my voltage, and that tells me I had a 23% decline in voltage in 15 seconds. And 7.87 volts divided by 845 amps tells me I've got about a 9.3 milliohm resistance here. And so at 7.87 volts, we got 845 amps into 9.3 milliohms. Let's do that again. And we're going to reset our timer, start that, press the button, and similar result. 10 seconds, 11, 12, 13, 14, and at 15, I'm at 805 and 799. And I started at 10.02 there. But my voltage actually held up a little bit, I think, as we're warming up the battery. This is getting a little better. And so we are at 10.03. Let's reset the clock, and we'll start it. 860 amps. And so our ability to make current is going down. And 15, I'm at 8.19 and 745. So my current seems to be going down, but my voltage seems to be going up. And so we've had 745, 799, and 845 as our finishing current. And that might be a rising resistance through our now warm, quite warm. In fact, I believe we can hook this up to our solar and heat this place in the winter. And so that's essentially what's happening. I believe let's give it about a 10-minute rest and see if we get some of that current back. I think we're heating up in our rebar. Stay with observation. I think we've just built the largest EVTV heater we've ever assembled. This got quite hot. Our voltage was not sagging as much, but our current was. That means our resistive load is increasing from the heat. We got down to where our voltage was only sagging to 8.15 volts, but our current was going down to 745 amps. We've let it rest about 20 minutes. It's pretty much room temperature again. So I thought we would run it again and see if that regains some of its abilities. And so I'm going to reset our stopwatch. We're at 10.21. We've recovered nicely. I'll write that down. And we're going to give it 15 seconds. 1, 2, 3, go. And 999 amps. And that's just the JLD 404 complaining. Our voltage is plunging. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I got 785, but I'm 835 on the current. And so, what that means is we have indeed recovered some of our resistance as this has cooled. Our resistance, well, it's not cool anymore. Our resistance has gone down again, and instead of 745 amps, we ended at 835, and instead of 8.15 volts, we were down to 7.35. And again, 1021, 7.35 divided by 10.21. That's about 72%. We're at about a 28% sag. But we started at 990 amps, ended at 835. Let's say we average 900 divided by a 60 amp hour cell. That's 15C. And I can tell you that these cells aren't supposed to do that. And I wouldn't want them to do it in a car. Let's take a break, and I'm going to remove these cells and try them on our somewhat higher voltage NMC cells that are supposed to do 15C. Back in a minute. What I've done is removed our CA60s and installed our new nickel manganese cobalt oxide cells. These are 50 amp hour cells, a new chemistry. They call it NMC. It's kind of considered a hybrid cathode. Nickel, manganese, and cobalt. Much higher voltage. We're at 12.57 volts among the three cells. And I've just taken one off the charger. 12.57 divided by 3 is 4.19. And that's right about where I want it, as fully charged cells. And that's going to give us more current through there. But remember, these are rated for 15C, 20C for 10 seconds. Let's see what we get here for 15 seconds, which is what we did with the other ones. And I've got it all bolted up. Now this is cooled down pretty much. We'll give it a good run or two here. And 3, 2, 1, bingo. There is 1,075 amps to start with. We're at 9, 10 seconds, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're at 8.39 and 850. $850 amps is pretty impressive, but 8.39, 850 amps, that's kind of where we were with the other ones. 8.39 divided by 12.57, that's 66.7%. And so we have greater sag, that's 34%, 33.3% sag with our first run, and down to 850 amps. Our first run on the CALBs was from 10.22 down to 7.87, and 845 amps, and our first run here is from 12.57 down to 8.39. We maintained a higher voltage, but 850 amps is about the same, and so our voltage decrease was even more. We're at 12.22 here, and I'm going to try it again. You all see if you can catch all this. Of course, we will when I edit tomorrow, exactly what happened. But let's see if we're ready to go here. 15 seconds on the clock. We're going to start at 12.22. and go. And I'm at 1,015 amps to begin with. And at 15, I'm at 9.3 and 855. And so again, our resistance is going up from the heat, which I can feel here. And we only sagged to 9.3 volts there. And down to 855, we started at, what was it, 1,019? 1,019 amps. And went down to 855. And 1,019 amps would be, 1,000 amps would be 20C. And these are smaller cells than the CALB CA60s. These are 50 amp hour cells of a higher voltage. And so they're going to, that's 20C to do 1,000 amps, which they'll do very briefly. It started at 1,000 and dropped to 850 over 15 seconds. 15 seconds is pretty much an acceleration, guys. If you're not doing 60 miles an hour by then, you got a sick car. And so I would say it's absolutely true that they can do 20 amps or 20C. I don't find that a bad claim. Let's let's gut these babies. 30 seconds on the clock. We're going to start at 11.94. I have a little more resistance now with my heat, so it should maintain everything a little bit, except the current will be lower. Again, I don't have the miracle with the electronic loads is I can set a precise current, and so we're not guessing quite so much. See, I've got ranges here. I'm starting at this voltage and going to this voltage, but I'm starting at this current and going to this current, and it's kind of tough to get it all coordinated. Let's go. And 976 is where I started. We're gonna see if we can gut these batteries for 30 seconds. I may lower my things here just in case they blow. There's 20 seconds. I'm still at 800 amps and 9.5 volts. And here's 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. I'm at 9.49 and 756. What did I start at there on current? Anybody paying any attention? I think it was yeah, 997 amps, dropping to 756. So these cells will do 750 amps for 30 seconds. In a 50 amp cell, that's your 15C right there, and that's what they're talking about continuously. And so I think we've got a pretty interesting cell. It actually decreases in voltage more than the CALB CA series does, but it makes probably more current. We're testing a smaller cell at 50 amp hours, and I find a 15C continuous and 20C for 10-second claim to be perfectly supportable. Although it does heat up my rebar by quite a bit. Stay with us.
That's impressive.
Couple things jump out at me.
Yeah.
And one of them is I'm still a LiFePO man.
Yeah. Those CALB
lithium
CAs are
iron
pretty good.
phosphate.
Yeah. Yeah.
they're actually stiffer than these newer NMC cells.
Yeah.
Now the NMCs are higher voltage at lower weight.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you take the voltage and the amp hours that are actually in them and the weight that they actually weigh, they're kind of an advance over the CALBs, and volume similarly.
Sure.
And they will put out 15C, I believe, continuously, and 20C for 10 seconds.
Yep.
That's the claim, and I would say that pretty much puts a finish nail in that piece of wood. And so they can do it. I'm going to have 200 of them.
All right.
After the Chinese national holiday in about a week, if I don't get hung up in customs, which sometimes we do. But I would say next week or the week following,
All right.
we should have 200 of these cells. They're going to be quite expensive, but if you want to play with them, we'll have them. And that's what I see them for initially, is playing with. Longer term, if you want to do a fast car, lightweight,
Yeah. Perfect cells.
lots of power, like a Speedster Light, that might be the one to pick, even though they're a little more money. They'll occupy a little less space, a little less weight, a little more current comes out of them, and that's kind of an incremental gain in batteries, which is how they're going to go. They didn't shame the CALBs at all.
No, the CALBs really.
And that's going to remain our main line of batteries, and the one I would recommend for most builders. But if you're fighting for pounds, fighting to shave, a few hundredths off a 1/8 mile,
so that's a good choice.
I think it's something to look at.
Yeah.
And speaking of a very cool race car that's electric, JEVQ Garcia went to the Sandbrook convention and will not give me any video of it.
Really?
But along the way, he found one in a barn that you gotta hear about.
Hey guys, so I'm here in Jerome, Arizona, a little town up in the mountains. It's like, I want to say 7,000 feet up, I think. I might be wrong in that, but I think we're way up here. Anyways, there's a very interesting, what is it, like it's a museum here. This guy has everything, old cars, old everything. He's got generators, motors, I mean, everything old. It's an old mining town. It's an old mining town, so, there's a lot of equipment, there's a lot of cool things to see. Amongst all that stuff, look at what we found here. There's a Studebaker, a 1902 Studebaker. It's an electric car. It runs on 48 volts. The motor runs at 1750 RPMs. And it has, amazingly, regenerative braking. It has a top speed of 13 miles per hour. And it uses fuel weakening. I guess it uses a rheostat that you turn the power down. So the amps go up and the motor's RPMs go up, and you would use that to pass people, I guess, if you needed to pass another vehicle or something. It has it runs on a 48 volt system, and it has a 40-mile range, at 13 miles per hour top speed, I guess. The crazy thing is, he told me, the owner, he restored it. And he told me that this is serial number 3. So this car right here is the oldest Studebaker in the world. Not only that, but it's an electric. He told me that Studebaker's made electric cars for about 10 years. And then they, I guess by that time, the gas, internal combustion, kind of won the war against, between those two. And so they started making combustion engine vehicles. So this is actually pretty cool. It works. He restored it. He doesn't know what batteries it had in there, so he just made a new box and put 4 12-volt batteries. lead acid batteries. And this thing runs. He says he takes it to shows all the time, and he plans to take it to California. There's going to be a show that does. I guess they're going to be celebrating the beginning of Route 66, and I guess Jay Leno's going to have, you know, all his steam car and his electric cars that he's got and stuff. He plans to take this over there, so we're going to keep up with him, and maybe we'll get to see this car out in California. We'll actually maybe get to see it running and stuff. But I wanted to share with you guys. It's a pretty cool find in the middle of Arizona. I'm here doing a BW show, so I never expected to see this here. So it's pretty cool. All right, guys.
The man is just eclectic.
Yeah,
He
what
just
in the heck
picks
is he
up
doing?
information everywhere. A 1903 Studebaker Electric.
That's amazing.
Purportedly it runs. I think
Really?
it would run better with CALB batteries. Jamie. But go ahead and check with Balcon, see if they got any left. You might get it working.
Might work. That's good.
I slapped Annie around a little bit.
Oh, yes, yeah, I know.
And we're about electric vehicles. We're not a cologne commercial.
Can't help himself.
I already was the most interesting man in the world, and I've never had a Dos Equis. We're not going to Monaco this year. But how did you make the little red boat?
Yeah.
He
Nice
he
boat.
finally showed us some interesting.
Well, hey there, EVTV. This is Anne Kloppenborg with an update from Amsterdam. I'm standing next to a 1966 Ray Wright Delta that I introduced on the EVTV show, well, quite some time ago. The building in the end goes fast. The planning and the other projects, they take a long time. But today I thought I would do a bit of a rundown of the EVTV components that we selected to put into this boat, a boatload of components, we could say. The core of the system is a AC 35x2 by HP EVS with two 144 Cordis controllers and a big chill plate. I will take you around our boat. She came a long way from her original state when we got her from Classic Boats Amsterdam. She had a big rubber ring around her, and the paint was just something horrible. The interior was kind of gone. The one thing we absolutely kept was the Ray Wright logo, and we had to start with taking out everything under the bonnet. So we had quite some space to work with when we took out the 4-cylinder Lotus engine that was in there, and now have a custom mount for the AC 35x2, which fits handily at 16 degrees for the prop shaft. And we have the two Curtis 144 volt controllers in the rear on their chill plate, and a prototype version high voltage board. Some cleanup on the wires needs to be done, but the function is as we were hoping, so that's good for testing. And the whole system is powered by two separate packs that together form about 160 volts. We're running 48 series on the cells, and we have 60 amp hour cells in a 2P configuration. I'm not the biggest fan of buddy packing cells, since you have a lot of extra hardware at the top, and possibly some efficiency loss in the sense that you have more packing around the individual cells than you would need. But for the size and weight that we were going for on this pack, the amperage draw that we wanted to be able to do, and the kilowatt hours that we would want to have with us, it turned out that buddy packing these 60s, giving us about 135 real amp hours per buddy pack group, was the sweet spot and the way to go. The Curtis kit comes with the contactors for the pre-charge, we added a shunt and an extra contactor. The shunt is to serve the JLD 404 that we have mounted in the front. The extra contactor breaks the two separate halves of the pack and breaking high voltage for when we go away from the boat. So we don't have high voltage all the time. We switch it with a 12-volt mass switch. Coming to the rear, we get a little bird's eye view of the controllers on their chill plate, all the great tubing and wiring done by Celso Manaya of Portugal, a wonderful job, and a low voltage box where all our control wires and 12-volt meet each other and then go up to the front. There in the back, you might be able to see our 12-volt pump, which is a Bosch, and it circulates the cooling liquid in the chill plate, and the two bladders that are in the hull of the boat, but that you can't see because they're under the battery boxes, keeping our system nice and cool. Coming around, we see our pressure bearing setup. So the pressure plate is at the same 16 degrees that the motor is at, and we have a custom coupling, making sure that the pressure force from the propeller shaft isn't put onto the bearings in the motor, but put on the bearings on the pressure plate there in blue. We had to reupholster the interior of the boat. We got some good old Sky covering like the original, and a wig-wag throttle in the Curtis controller setup. It's a Type 4 throttle, so that you have forward and reverse in one throttle pot. Turning on the system. Audible clunk when we have the pre-charge and the contactors engage. And then throttle. It's still a little finicky, we need to control. And that's where our vibration issues come into play. We've had a couple of different pressure bearings now, and we are not at the ideal situation yet. Up to about 3,000 RPMs, we're all cool. After that, we're getting resonance through the whole boat, and definitely need some further tweaking of the setup and the lining. Part of the reason is that we have a older boat, so not everything is as straight and lined as we would want it to be. Part of the reason is that we're working with some temporary parts while we're waiting for a more complete pressure bearing setup where the pressure plate itself is also can be put at variable angles. So in our interior dashboard, we decided for a single tablet display, kind of a la Tesla. We have a Google Nexus 7. It has GPS, it has Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, it can run our music, and it'll probably be able to receive CANbus messaging through a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi interface, finding the right app, and if we work on that. I got two Bluetooth speakers that are set up to work in stereo. They're the Logitech UE Boom speakers, and I can go up to my music. So we have sound. They also work for speakerphone, so that we can take calls in the boat, but also so that we can make video calling in the boat, because actually the way the camera is set up, both passenger and pilot in the boat are at perfect angle for video calling, which is going to be a lot of fun, I think. So we've got to get out in the water and test that one. And then obviously we have a big speedometer, but it can't get a GPS reading inside, so it's kind of annoying us right now. Hey, so that's it for our update this week. A quick rundown of the Delta and her components. We are gearing up towards a production version of the Delta that we want to offer for next year's season, along with the Silverback. And we have a little commercial video that we showed a intro of, or making of, last week, and I have a little bit of teaser footage that came in from the guys editing it now. So that promises a lot of good to come for the Delta project, EVTV components, and new electric Delta hull. Hey, you all keep building, we'll keep building, and we'll be in touch. See you soon. Bye-bye.
It's a nice walk around.
I like that.
Yeah, that was very
It showed
nice.
the stuff.
Yeah.
And well enough you could see what was going on. What's going on with his bearing ring? You're the mechanical.
You know, I don't know. It could be a couple of things. I guess either he's got a bearing that he keeps having issues with, alignment, or he's feeling something in the body of the boat, in the hull itself. I mean, I can't tell where it's coming from. Those would be two likely suspects.
He used to be stationed on the USS Midway.
That's right.
In a hurricane, we would actually bridge a couple of waves. The front end would come out of the water and the back end would still be in it. Then it would be coming down and another wave coming up. And we would hit the wave with the front end of the boat. It would ring like a bell.
Couldn't imagine that.
Kind of hurt.
Fillings flying everywhere,
Yes.
ears ringing.
Anna, I'm going to suggest something, and I really don't know what you're doing. But I would put some serious rubber and some serious mount on that bearing. I'm not sure you have a bearing problem. I think you just need a heavier mount and more shock mount.
Okay, it's just
That's
coming through the
my
hull.
take.
Okay.
Is he's got a banjo going here.
Yeah, it's just being strummed.
It's
yeah.
it's a guitar, a
Interesting.
violin. The bottom of the boat's a backboard for anything you have in that, and you're going to have something.
Yeah, you're gonna get some noise, vibration.
And it's going to transmit it to every fish for 40 miles, and it's kind of like playing a ukulele. It's going to amplify the noise. The best way is to isolate it from that thing with a big block of soft wood, which I know is low tech, and then some pretty serious polyurethane or rubber, that sort of thing.
To isolate it. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
to isolate it from the metal dobro.
From the steel guitar.
From the steel guitar. Wow, wow, wow. Now, but I'm making that up. I don't know anything about that sort of thing. Speaking of mechanicals, I saw my thing is up in the air,
Yes, it is up in the air.
and I got a receipt for more thing parts,
The thing
ball
needs.
joints and.
Yes, you need. Yeah, the ball joints definitely are not good in the thing. When you can go like this and they wiggle, they wave.
The front end is a little vague
Okay, well it should stiffen
and
up.
squishy,
Yeah.
and kind of all over the place.
Okay, it should stiffen
Yeah.
up then.
Yeah, we'll replace all those parts.
Yep, yep. They're coming.
Shane was supposed to have gone through all that months ago,
Oh,
and before we ever got into the electrical part. But let's do it now, and that takes us to the Karmann Ghia.
yes.
Did you know that Karmann Ghia was the name of a woman in a satirical opera from the 1500s?
I didn't, but I did read an email about it.
That's where I got it.
It's spelled a little different.
Yeah, with a C.
The C. Carmen.
Yeah, well, let's spell yours that way, and let's go see if there's anything yet to be had.
There you go. All right, Shane. So here we are back at the butt end of our Karmann Ghia, I suppose, the rump.
The rump.
What have we been doing with this rump roast this week?
Well, we've done a little damage on it there. We've been battling that rust, and
Yeah, I still see there's some holes that we just are. I mean, without being, I don't want to repaint the car. You know, the paint on the outside is pretty good, so we don't want to get too close to anywhere where we might blister paint because it's the outside is about as good as it. You know, it's about as good as we need, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
And some of this in here is just going to stay there. I see you
Yeah.
did something over here on this side.
Yeah, you ordered us that panel, and I got her installed there pretty good. It really stiffened it up.
And this is just the a classic rust repair panel for a Karmann Ghia. I mean, they're all over the place, but that's where the battery, the starter battery normally went, and that's a prime location. When I did my Ghia, it's the same thing. I had to do that. Actually, I had to replace this little front apron piece here too.
boy.
But I repainted the whole car, so we could have done that, but we would have had to repaint the whole. We would have had to repaint the whole car. We've got some sanding. I think you did. Is that what you got here? It doesn't look bad. I mean, what do you guys think?
You can see some pretty metal, shiny metal back in there.
You can't. And I guess we're going to need to cover that metal up pretty soon with something. Before it starts to rust, huh? And what are you going to do?
Well, I went and got us some rust inhibitor that
Okay.
it pretty much stops rust in its tracks. So
We should just dip the car in it.
yeah,
I
that's
don't know
what
what's like you said, just dip it in oil, huh? Maybe some Cosmoline, just put it in the desert. That'll stop it.
Then on the front, you know, we're going to use regular primer on the good metal.
Okay. Cool. And then I guess we'll just paint on what are we going to do ultimately back here? I mean, what's your thought after we'll rust inhibit it, prime it, paint it black, because we know what happens when you paint it black.
Right.
It disappears. And then how are we going to cover up the rest of it? What are you thinking?
Well, we're going to have to get some thin gauge stainless or
some aluminum or something we can work with. And this is what came with the car, and they made this in a bunch of pieces.
Yeah.
Probably because the engine was in there, and they had to deal with the cooler. The doghouse was over here on top of the number 3 cylinder on the left side. So, but this is the thought to then cover this entire area with some metal. I think that's probably the best thing to do. And we'll do that once the motor's in and everything, and that'll be kind of a final fitment.
Right.
Yeah, I think that'll work pretty good. We also got a drain here, and it fits up underneath. Let me close this real fast. I don't know if you can see any of this, but there's a vent here for cooling normally for the ice engine. And if you don't put this tray up under there, and he can just kind of show you, it'll disappear, it's black. And with the water will come into it, and then it funnels into these 2 low areas, and there's actually tubes that are up in here that go into the deck lid itself, and then come out here. It's difficult to see, but there are some 2 little slits. So that'll take the channel of water coming down into the rear deck lid vent, through the tubes, into the deck, and out here on the back of the car.
Good.
So I think that was a good addition, because
like
that'll also keep dust and dirt and all kinds of things. I think that Jamie is thinking about pimping me up a little bit. You know, we've got blue lights here. Jack went on a LED light spree. And he's thinking about gluing some in here, kind of like we did in the with the J1772 port.
Right.
And that they'll come on at some appropriate time. I'm sure right when police are behind me.
Right.
So that they'll pull me over and wonder why I have blue and red lights all over the car. But other than that, I think we're good.
Yeah, it looked nice.
Okay, so anything else back here that you're thinking that we did this week, or that we're going to start on for next week, Shane?
Not right off, but I am going to take that frame horn off the transmission mount there and do some wire wheeling.
Okay, yeah, it has a weird, it's got a really bizarre, it's got a 20 millimeter socket. We don't even know, it may even be the size of like a spark plug or something. Good news on the transmission too. I talked to the guys at Rancho yesterday, I believe, or the day before. They got the gear set in. Apparently there's only one guy that makes the gears that we need, and he doesn't make them you know, one at a time. He makes them in a run, so he completed his run.
Oh, I see.
And so now they'll be able to put that together. We'll do a super diff, so that'll be the bigger carrier with the 4 spider gears. Besides the gearing, not a lot else. We'll go ahead and we'll run the VW CV joint flanges, since we already have them on the outboard side. We'll run them inboard. If we break it, we know how to, we know what to do. We'll just get some bus CVs and put some flanges on it. But that is what's been going on with the rear end of the Ghia. And of course, if any of you have ideas, you always do. Don't forget to let us know at EVTV.
Please.
We need help.
Thank you.
All right, so we've got Jamie here now. Just next, come on up. So what have you been working on? Looks like a battery.
Yeah, just finalising the dimensions for the battery box in the rear.
Cool. Okay, yeah, we showed you the last couple of weeks how we morphed that through from it's kind of a saddlebag arrangement to a single box way up in the rear.
Yep.
I think that we're real happy with. So now you're mocking up actually that single battery box now. Okay, great.
So we've taken into account we've got a little spacer at the bottom, rubber or plastic.
And this is to take up the bolt heads and to give it a...
Normally, yeah, but we're actually on the outside. Which
good, okay.
Remember how we've got to put those dimensions in.
Oh, so we're thinking of doing a couple of tabs on the outside of the box.
So we don't have to remove anything to be able to slide it.
Inside to be able to slide it out. Nice, okay, nice touch. Okay, so this is going to be our
just
bottom.
a cushion really,
cool.
I guess.
Okay.
And then we're going to have at the front, which is towards the driver's seat and passenger
Let's go ahead and
seat.
spin it around a little bit.
We're going to have our maintenance switch mounted like so,
okay,
with some copper bars shaped to directly mount with obviously the military spec
right.
heat shrink.
Yeah, it won't be touching anything, but it'll also be insulated with the mil spec heat shrink. Absolutely.
Okay. So that'll be at the front, and then at the rear we'll be exiting out of the two batteries as well, obviously positive and negative, to run
at
straight
the rear,
to.
and that'll run. And we're talking about the rear. This is this part of the box here, right next to the firewall, basically, and then we'll just plumb right through.
Yep.
Into the firewall. Okay.
Yep.
And so we've got a box that's going to be how tall then, ultimately?
9.75 inches.
Okay, and that includes that we'll have our cell booties on there for protection, and that should be clamped down right on there.
Yep.
Okay, with a lid that is yet to be determined exactly the configuration of the lid, but something, the outer dimensions of the box, maybe plus 1/8 of an inch. We haven't determined how that lip should be yet, because we need to know what fasteners we're going to use.
Yes.
So we need to go shopping for fasteners, something that's easy to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right.
And it's going to be 33 3/4 long.
And that's 6 cells.
Yep. That's
side
6
by
cells.
side. Okay.
Yep. And then 21 deep.
Okay. And that's
21 1/4.
And that's 8 cells.
8 cells.
So 6 by 8 gives us the 48 in one box.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. I like it. So we are going to go ahead and order our battery box, and hopefully we'll be able to show it to them for next week, just depending on what Southeast Fabricating's got going down there in their aluminum shop.
Sweet.
It's perfect. Thanks, Jamie. All right, so here we are, Jamie and I at the front of the car, and I've intentionally left my butt out of the shot, so just in case anybody thought that we didn't frame it like this on purpose. Yeah, it's much better that way. So what have we been doing up here, Jamie?
Well, just more rust removal, obviously.
Okay.
The more we do, the more holes and cracks we find.
Okay.
So we are building templates.
Okay, great.
To somewhat fix that up.
So this is going to go down in this kick panel, and we'll show you some of this up close in a second here, but we've got some templates. You know, we just had some really extreme issues up here with some of the rust in the front of the car, but I think we're mitigating and ameliorating it just as well as we can. It's the car's solid. It's you know, we expose a little more rust as we sand, but then again we also find a lot of really good metal. So
which is nice.
Yeah. So I'm okay. I'm okay. I think that when we put on the brakes, the body's not going to slide off. I think. So we should be okay. Also, I see here that we've got our, we can see our VIN number. We'll be able to show you from the other side. We've kind of uncovered some of the original German handiwork in here with some of the data plates and things like that on the car.
Yeah.
And you've sprayed this black, and this is ultimately what we're going to do with this part of the car, I take it.
Yeah.
So we'll do the same routine that with rust removal, wire wheel, sanding, like we showed in the back of the car.
Yeah. Rust-Oleum primer.
Rust-Oleum primer, and then paint it black, and we'll have some panel work in here with some light gauge metal to cover some of this up after we've sprayed the heck out of it with the primer. We'll put some of that right on top of our new metal work right on top of the rust inhibitor and primer. And I think that that'll work it, but it's looking pretty good up here.
We're getting there.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, great work. I mean, it's been a lot of sanding and things like that, but I feel a lot better. Every week I feel a lot better about the project. Well, good work, thanks.
Awesome.
All right, so here we are again. We've kind of been working our way through the vehicle. Now we're back to the interior.
Interior.
So we've got to get working on the dashboard at this point. So we have taken, and we'll show you some of this, we have taken all the vents out of the dash. We've taken, you've seen it before, everything off, but now we're going to start to strip this thing down. What we're thinking of doing with the dash is putting some of the vents in the dash for the AC and the heat. We're going to use the stock locations for the vents, and we'll be putting, that'll be our defroster up there on the top. We've got some flat opportunities here in the dashboard, one between the emergency flasher and the headlight switch where we can probably put a vent. We've got another one inside, right next to the glove box where we've got some nice flat surfaces. We've also got a bunch of holes here, and we'll show you again what that looks like. They're already pre-drilled.
Yeah.
We had fresh air vents in there. We had a seatbelt warning system. We had the rear window defroster, which we don't know if it works, so we'll test it, and we may have to put another, may have to put some other kind of switch there for that. We're going to need to put a little momentary button in there for the HP EVS for the controller so that we can cycle through the spyglass meter. So we'll have to put some other gauges in, and our JLD 404 probably under the dash. Up above it, there's a control that Vintage Air has made that's about an inch high and I believe, or an inch and a half, about 5 inches wide with the 4 buttons we need to control the AC system that go on top. Did get and I need to think about this, from a viewer, and sorry that I forgot, and I just did this yesterday, but to use the Blaupunk, I think it was the 420, which is a European model that has all of our Bluetooth, wireless.
It does, huh?
It's got a USB in the front of it too, which some of them don't.
Right.
So if we need to plug in, we can. So it's got a lot of really good features. Plenty of power. We'll probably put some better speakers in it, maybe some MB Quart or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So we have some nice speakers. So we'll try to get the imaging as far front as we can, and see if we might be able to work. It's got good jacks. Might be able to put a sub in the back or something like that. So that's what we're thinking. But I think we want to get the wire wheel going. Is that what you're thinking?
That's what we're thinking here.
All right. Well, let's just show them wire wheeling. Looks like not like you haven't seen it before. But heck, we love it. So let's just do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, every week I think we're all feeling even better about the Ghia now. We did paint the back end. We got the back end primed. We've got the front end.
It was painted black?
It's painted black now.
I thought I couldn't see it at all.
Yeah, it just disappeared. Yeah, it just disappeared.
If you paint it black, it'll disappear.
And Jamie has got the, I think, some weatherproofing and some panels to do some of the repairs up there. The ducting, we're starting on the dash now, ordering the battery box. I think we're putting it together more than taking it apart now this week.
I think you are too, Brian, but we don't care about any of that stuff. Nobody cares about that. Right? You know what my position on rust is? I don't do that. We don't care about it. I want to know about that air conditioning compressor you got, and where did that come from, and what's that all about, and how you're going to work all that out, and about a little bit about your batteries. How are you going to get to them? The way Jack's got you underneath that back shelf, I don't think you're ever going to be able to reach them. Are they going to be connected to the car or what?
Let's put it right to the body.
And so, yeah, we got to get that thing up off. This mechanical stuff is not that interesting. I'm having a ball, however, with the thing and the JEVQ.
Yes.
Number one, we received on Monday 100 million Siemens motors.
No, we did. We did.
And that turned out to be a lot. What was that, 8 crates?
I think
of
so.
12 each crate being 1,270 kilograms.
Yeah, and huge too in volume.
And
big
enormous.
crates. Yeah, really enormous crates.
And our solar stuff was delivered today in 5 crates?
4
crates.
4 crates.
That were similarly enormous. And now, next week, we're going to have to shoot out in the parking lot
Yes.
for the show because there's no place for us to stand in here.
Yeah, we got 3 cars in here right now.
Installation of the solar 24.4 kilowatt solar system
Yes.
on the roof will commence October 21st. And the JEVQ is getting me very breathy.
Yes, I've noticed.
We don't have it to show this week. Paulo has collapsed the whole thing to a single board. It's not an Arduino board anymore. It's a board with Arduino built into it and everything else that we were doing in ed, and then a 35-pin amp seal connector. And it's all one board.
On a single board, yeah.
And he was supposed to send me a video and the first boards. I've already got some things improvements made, but if it tests out, we're going to go into production on those, at least a small run. I don't know, 30, 50 of them.
Okay. Oh, cool.
That will cover the guys that have already bought DMOC 645s
Sure.
and motors from us. And so that's exciting. One of the things that we did, and this was an Ed Clausen selection, was a Wi-Fi module called the Mini Socket Wi-Fi from Connect One.
All right.
And this is a little, a very small actually module that now plugs right into Paulo's board. And does 802.11bg wireless Wi-Fi. And it does pretty much everything: SMTP, mail, FTP, Telnet, SMTP, DNS, DHCP, MOUSE, and of course HTTP, which is a lot of various acronyms. Most curious among them is a web server that you can put tags in.
Oh.
And those tags are associated with variables in the firmware that's stored away in memory. And so if anyone gets on and examines a page and makes a change in one of those tags, you'll get a basically a hardware interrupt.
Okay. Okay.
And you can simply call for the next parameter value that was changed. Let's say they changed 10. You just call it, 10 times. On the 11th, you get back a carriage return line feed, and you've got them all. You don't have to go scan through the whole page and fish all that out and everything. It does it all for you. It does ad hoc networks, and so just magically we've got a JEVQ network that sprang up in the garage.
Yeah, but I've seen it on the computer now, yeah.
Michael Neuweiler, who was the star, stole the show last week, frankly.
He really did.
I actually put him on the JPEG for the show.
He was looking up
over the thing.
Hey, Michael.
But good job, Michael. But he has actually designed a status page, a configuration page, and a about page that basically, Brandon, we've already won the battle on this one. There's still some coding to be done. But I was able to access these out there with a laptop. No connection to the vehicle.
No, pretty cool.
Just a laptop, wireless, and a browser. And I've got a little website that shows me the running time and the current and the voltage and everything in the motor, amount of throttle and so forth. If I go to the config page, he's going to have sliders and little boxes and stuff. to map your throttle and your brake and set your cooling temperatures and your pre-charge values and so forth on that, and you'll be able to access that from your iPhone or your Android or your tablet or your laptop or anything with a browser in it that will make a connection to an ad hoc network and call up a URL. And,
That's a great feature.
I think it's absolutely stunning. The problem is you have to format it.
Okay.
You have to get onto it and upload the website the first time. And guess who's going to have to do that?
We're going to have to do it here.
Yeah,
we're going to do it here. Yeah.
Before we send it out.
Yeah. One more thing.
Or it kind of won't work. And so it's one more thing to, another little bit of software to have to do to each of, 500 or something.
They roll out.
Which is getting to be our world. But I'm this has been such an overwhelming success. And it's not even out there yet, and it's already got me completely blown away. The configuration is going to be easy. You're not even gonna have to hook anything up to your car. Just walk out and be in the area of your vehicle and log on to it and configure it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Don't have to open the hood, hook up wires, find ports. Yeah.
Adding features easy. These guys have done a great job of keeping the software kind of rational, where you can kind of read it.
Okay.
If you haven't, it's pretty well commented. It's in rational files. It's you'll be able to work with it if you're a programmer. If you're not, there's going to be a tremendous amount you can do just through the configuration to get this working with your car. And our mission is to divorce you from the motors and inverters to where once you learn this one, this is the only one you'll need. You can put it in any car with any motor, any inverter, and be able to operate it just fine. As we go along, there'll be some tuning to that, but we're just knocking down stuff left and right right
it's
now.
Been great.
Colin Kidder, of course, and really Michael Newweiler. On the software side, they're just the horses.
Yeah, great job.
And do things with incredible rapidity, just very quickly. They never have got my throttle back after I hit the brake regen. That's a sticky
little
one,
bugaboo, huh?
But yeah, that's I have to pump the throttle. If I brake, I get great brake regen. I can adjust it where it feels just perfect. But anytime I use it, then when I step on the throttle, nothing.
Right.
Take my foot off the throttle, step on it again, and now it goes. So if I'm trying to put my foot on it, it doesn't go. I put it to the floor, it still didn't go. So I get it off and then stop it. Well, now it takes off.
It's going to go. That's right. What's wrong with this throttle?
And so it's no problem. I've mowed down a few civilians, and they're tough to clean off the front of that vehicle. So it's the JEVQ thing is going to be a fabulous development. We have and you heard Michael last week talking about ass clowns.
Yes.
That's kind of the running joke in the, we've got a little mailing list sort of privately among guys that are actually doing stuff, and me. And
the moderator.
No, actually, Michael's kind of the
He's
moderator.
the moderator.
I'm not even the moderator. I just offer a lot of free advice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just set up the stand, free advice.
And talking about ass clowns. And so we have named the group the Electric Vehicle Ass Clowns International.
Oh.
EVTV.
EVTV, okay.
Yes, it's a global group of software and hardware developers and engineers dedicated to basically not electrocuting themselves or burning anything to the ground.
Oh, well, that's a
That's
noble
our
mission.
That's our mission
That's
statement.
a very noble mission.
If any of you want to jump in and join the fun, you're welcome. Not desperately needed at this point, but welcome.
But yep, come on down. Yep.
And I'm talking to a guy about doing a Reinhardt object module for the JEVQ. And of course, I was going to do a UQM one, and I've kind of backed away from CODA acquisition.
All right.
For the moment. Did locate 95 encoder cables, though, for the motors.
That's what you were saying. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's just 5 of you that are going to wind up without them. All the other motors
And they'll be
get
the really
encoder
expensive encoder cables.
And
The last 5.
the last 5. Well, that'll be a while. So things are going pretty well. I
Yes.
understand you're going to film me a commercial.
Yeah, I think we should have a EVTV store commercial. We have a lot of stuff here, a lot of things to say, a lot of products going on. EVCon is looking good. More people, more cars. This
How many
last week.
people? This is incredible.
We have 51, so we
51 people have signed up for the EVCon.
Yes.
And 11 cars.
well, 11 official cars from our attendees, plus every vehicle we could scrape together at this point. So we've got
right.
a show.
We would easily be over 20
Yeah,
cars.
yeah, we've got a show.
now with
Yeah.
51 attendees, and it is October.
It's
That's
October
when we
4th.
used to have it.
Yeah.
And so Otmar Ebenhake is going to come speak.
That's going to be great.
I think it's going to be. I've got somebody else working as a speaker, but I can't remember if I'm supposed to talk about it or not yet.
Oh, secret speaker?
Well, you know, you get a lot of secret stuff.
Yeah.
And it's tough to keep straight when
All those secrets. That's
supposed to talk about, not supposed to talk about yet.
It's all about the timing.
Yeah. Stay with us. We'll be back next week with more Underdog Adventures.
Yes.
Don't touch that dial.
See you then.